What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Talking Elite Fitness. I'm Sean Woodland, joined as always by Lauren Khalil. Lauren, how are you?
I'm good. I'm dry. Are you dry yet, Sean?
I have finally dried off from the deluge of rain that we had in Miami. And, of course, featuring Tommy Marquez, who I'm surprised you're not in front of a television right now, given all the March Madness that is occurring.
Well, for the first time, I mean, pretty much for 15 years straight, I was in front of a sportsbook television for March Madness, opening of March Madness. This was, I'm just going to say it right now. I was going to save it for the end. First time in 30 years, my alma mater, Santa Clara, made the tournament. If you haven't already, and you haven't seen the highlights, Santa Clara hit a three to go up three with 2.4 seconds. Thought it would be the game. Kentucky came back and hit a logo three, falling away bank shot to tie it, to send it to overtime. And then you kind of knew it was over after that because they just had their guts ripped out.
This was the men's game, right? Or the women's game?
Yeah, this was a men's. This was maybe an hour ago.
Yeah, I know. I was on a meeting, and one of the people on the meeting is an alum of that institution like yourself, and was hanging on with bated breath. So
well, yeah, and so now the Marquez family shifts their focus to Arizona.
There you go, bear down. So, nice,
bear down.
Which is weird to me that it's bear down when it's the Wildcats.
Yeah.
It comes from it's a famous saying from the football coach where he gave a halftime speech where they had to kind of bear down, and it's this famous speech, and so that kind of became there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we got a couple things to talk about today and an interview for you. We're going to talk about the Open, kind of recap the 3 weeks that was the Open, take a look back at Wodapalooza and what that experience was like. Both Lauren and I were on site. And then we have an interview with the CEO and founder of XENOM, Keith Barlow, which is a really good conversation. I think if you guys don't know what it is, I think you're going to be kind of fired up about it by the time you end up hearing the entire thing, because I had a general idea about what this was about. But once you hear Keith explain it, you say, oh, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. So looking forward to bringing that interview to you as well. Before we get started, we want to thank our sponsor for today, and that is Thirdzy and their Rest and Recovery Collagen. Head to thirdzy.com and use our code TEF, and you will save 20% on their Rest and Recovery Collagen, and you will improve the way you sleep and recover. It doesn't have any melatonin in it, so it is not habit forming. Has great ingredients like GABA, L-theanine, magnesium in it. Those things allow you to calm your central nervous system so you get to sleep faster and you stay asleep longer. And I will say that my Thirdzy saved my you-know-what in Miami. It was a crazy schedule. I had trouble sleeping, but thanks to Thirdzy, I got the most out of the sleep that I did get, and I was able to do a moderately respectable job of getting through 26.3 on site. That workout sucked. So check them out. It's a great product made by fantastic people. Thirdzy.com, and use the code TEF to save 20%. Well, let's start with the Open. 3 weeks are now done, and they did have an increase, because I know we were tracking this. They had an increase in registration, but where did that net out? Because I kind of went into a black hole with that stuff once it got started.
Yeah, so the total increase was, I want to say it was around 9%, maybe ish. So they netted at 253, 927 is the official grand total of registrations from Mike Halpin's Open registration tracker. Now that number has upticked slightly for people that signed up after the fact, after the close of the first Open workout. Those registrations still count towards the prize purse, I believe. But yeah, generally we're in that like low 250 range, which not quite maybe the double digit increase that most people were hoping to see. Still an increase. I'm sure something that CrossFit will be happy with regardless, given that they dropped about 30% last year. Just starting to claw back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hoping that I was going to say, just hoping that their efforts will start to just chip away at it, because you're not going to make that all up in 1 year.
No, you're not. And I mean, it's going to take a while, but I thought these 3 weeks were fun. I was able to get all three workouts in. I thought I was able to do two of the announcements that I thought were really good shows. Obviously I'm bias, but I just think that they were what they needed to be. They cut out all the fat. Here's the athletes, here's the announcement, here they go. And that's all we need. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. I love the locale. I thought, Moffett Federal Airfield was great. It was a cool scene. Being over in Portugal, from what I understand, that affiliate was a fantastic site host. They bent over backwards and rolled out the red carpet for everybody. And I think the partnership with Wodapalooza was an absolute no-brainer. And that place was packed.
Yeah.
It was the most people that they had in those stands all weekend to kick things off. And it was hot. And people were out there having a great time. So, it was a great setting. So overall, I know people can argue about the programming, and that's whatever. But I had fun. I liked it. I got a solid A for me.
Yeah. For me, the biggest plus, I felt like I couldn't give a really good estimation on programming. One, I'm super out of shape right now. So whatever they programmed was going to kick my teeth in. I thought the second week was probably the best programmed piece. I really liked the third week in terms of just every year there's this just grindy, just disgusting slog type workout that's going to push you. And I think that third week was still up in the air about the first week, but I think there were some good pieces from the programming. I really thought the open announcements did an excellent job of getting in the vein of where they need to be. An added piece of that is I loved, and I think this is part of what will continue to make them successful. The regular CrossFit channel in general has been putting out some amazing content and some awesome video series. In particular, the I'm Done Being Obese. That they have put I think 2 episodes out now that they were rolling in the lead up to the announcements. Yeah. So if you got there early, you got to see some really good, I would say, core CrossFit content. That to me is that's the stuff that is really, really powerful. Leading into the shows with that, the last 2 weeks after I happened upon it in the first week and seeing those pieces, I showed up early to rewatch some of those pieces and see some of those elements. And that got me fired up for the announcement, and that kept me engaged throughout the week. And I hope I know that's a focus of them. I know that's the content that we used to champion back in the day that goes on a commercial break when you're on CBS, when you're on ESPN, that someone sitting there who happens to happen across it looks at it and they're like, wait a second, this dispels the notion that I can't do this, that it's for anyone. And that's the good stuff. So I thought including that and having those pieces was really important as well. And overall, the show production was really good. So I was really happy to see that. That was what brought someone like me who's, in year 17 and, sometimes some days feels super jaded and out of the loop. That was the stuff that kept bringing me back, that good spirit stuff that brings you back. So
Lauren, what'd you think?
Unfortunately, I did not get to suffer in 26.3. With Miami travel and the lack of sleep and proper nutrition, I made the executive decision for myself that I will probably end up in the hospital if I do this workout, based on watching all of the people who are way fitter than me, laying on the ground, doing the flop body, have their friends take the shoes off.
It wrecked me.
So I think, at some point I would like to do it just to, suffer together. But I would say this year was really interesting because there were no AMRAPs. However, for most of us, all of the workouts were an AMRAP. Nothing was for time for me this time. So I think that was pretty interesting. And especially even seeing during the open announcement, nobody finished, that really made you go, oh, maybe I need to change my strategy from what I'm thinking I'm going to do on paper.
Yeah. No,
I was going to say that the like you said, they were AMRAPs disguised as 4-time workouts, really, and which is crazy to say, because if you know your history, right, the first 3 years of the Open were entirely AMRAPs. Year 4 of the Open is when we got the first one, and it was in the final week in 14.5. So for the longest time, the earliest foundations of this Worldwide Open were built on the clocks. The clock is just going to be what it is, and you just got to try and maximize your time. But I'll echo what your sentiment. When I saw that Olivia didn't finish and she was the one that won, I was like, oh, I seriously need to rethink this test. Granted, I was just getting over the stomach flu and I had nothing. Everyone's like, oh, what are you going to get? What are you going to get? I'm like, I'm going to get 6 minutes, and then that's about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to fall off the cliff.
Yep.
So
that's about right. Yeah, it was a rough one. It was a good workout. I mean, I thought all of them did what they needed to do. The Open is not a complete test of fitness. It's basically, can you add and can you subtract? All right, great. Now we're going to move you on to more advanced math, multiplication, division, and basic algebra before we hit algebra 2 and calculus at the semifinals and the games. But it was a fun experience. I thought the announcements were great, and ending up at Wodapalooza on the beach there and partnering with an event like that, I hope they do more of that in the future. Which brings us to Wodapalooza. I thought it's my first time. Sorry, I just got a text message. It's the first time that I've been in that locale, and I love the location right on the beach. I don't feel like it's as Bayfront was great. Don't get me wrong, but it felt, and I don't know if the word oppressive is the right word, but it felt sometimes overly crowded at points. I never got that feeling with the way that this was set up, because it's more spread out, I guess. It's a lot like you would see in Southern California. Those layouts are about the same. The events that we did get to see, individual and teams, I thought were great. I had a fun time watching them. I had a fun time calling them. I thought they came off well. There were great races, especially in that last event that we actually got to do, which was the team sprint event. And it was unfortunate that things weren't able to continue on Sunday because the rain just did not stop. And there was lightning in the area, and it wouldn't have been safe. And so it begs the question is, can you move that event inside and it still be Wodapalooza?
Oh, I don't know. That's a great question. Yeah, every year, or just about every year, it rains at some point. And this is no fault of the event. This is just how Florida is. Florida almost always has scattered thunderstorms or pockets of rain. Sorry about that. Or pockets of rain that come throughout the day. And it's the beach vibe is what we know and love in a lot of ways about Wodapalooza. But how many years can you watch this happen and continue? And I don't know what the right answer is.
And Lauren and I talked a little bit about this on Q&A yesterday. I think a lot of the suggestions you hear from the people, there's a lot of armchair quarterbacking of people basically being like, well, why don't you do this? And why don't you do this? And where I would almost tell people to pump the brakes, as if you don't think that Dylan and company haven't thought of this already, or haven't tried to do this, but moving an event of this magnitude, you don't turn that cruise ship quickly.
Yeah.
Right. And they've already moved it. We've seen it in January. There was weather issues. We've seen it in February. There was weather issues. Now it's been in March and there's been weather issues. It is how Florida is at this early part of the spring. The other part of it is when you have to go through permits with the city, with Miami Beach, when you have to have multiple venues and the total number of athletes that you're trying to push through this to keep that Wodapalooza community celebration festival vibe, that doesn't give you a ton of options in terms of dates, times, and how far you have to map out ahead of time to plan for the following year. I mean, we're talking year plus ahead of time that you have to plan for these things. And again, so that just narrows the scope of what's possible. Now, I have seen some suggestions that maybe you try to build a semi-covered arena.
Yeah, but that doesn't eliminate the lightning problem.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mhm.
I have generally seen, and I could be wrong with this, but this is in my experience going to Wodapalooza since 2016, 2017. Lightning has been less of an issue than rain and wind has been. And you can take away that you can chip away at what are those things that present an issue by doing so. Lauren, I also mentioned, I mentioned on the show, Ultra Miami is a huge music festival that takes place in Miami in the same 3-month quarter window. Has had a mega structure in place with huge scaffolding overhead that is protected from the weather, and you've seen it in other music festivals. I don't know what the cost for that would be, but I think that if we're looking at the list of options that could be most attainable, maybe that seems like having some sort of covered thing. But then there's also liability issues if you have a covered non-permanent structure that gets in a monsoon type weather too.
Yeah.
It's not an easy
It's not,
fix.
and I don't know the answer. And I don't, if you, let's say perfect world, they move it inside, they go to the Miami Convention Center or something. Is it the same event? And I don't know if it is. It's probably not, because of what Wodapalooza has built its brand on, which is that beach vibe outdoors in Miami. But could you do it to then, excuse me, because the happy medium be where you do the majority of the competition indoors, and then you have 1 or 2 events scheduled for the beach. And then that way, if those get rained out, you have backup plans where you can have them indoors. Now, I don't know if that's ideal, but it was disappointing for the fans and for the athletes, because the competition, when it went on, was a lot of fun to watch. And I just don't know how many people are going to continue to say, yeah, let's throw the money behind this and go down there and buy a booth and do all this, and then have one day possibly rained out. I mean, there were other remember Friday night for the individuals, the men did not have their final event because that got rained out.
Yep.
And so at what point does that now start to diminish the desire for people to want to come back? And it's too bad, because I think it is a great event, and I don't know what the answer is, but maybe you need to look at doing something indoors.
Some kind of contingency plan of sort. And again, that comes with dollar signs. That gets expensive, and the logistics. It's not an easy fix, but it is. Yeah, a lot of money was spent by vendors, athletes, fans, etc. And if they want to be able to keep doing that and justify it, I think there needs to be some kind of safety net to prepare for.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we will continue that debate at a later date and see what Wodapalooza does to adjust. But again, I give them credit. Oh, go ahead. It was a fun competition. I really enjoyed it. It was fun to be there.
I do want to give credit to all the affiliates that stepped up and allowed athletes to come in and compete afterwards. To me, I talked to a couple of people who were there on the ground, judging and trying to help support in those affiliates. And they said that it was this crazy, wild pivot, but it felt like this is the down and dirty of what makes the CrossFit community awesome.
Yeah.
Is that in that moment of need, let's all rally together and do something that's not glamorous. It's not Miami Beach, on the water. It's inside the walls of an affiliate, throwing down, making sure people can have their efforts realized and seen, and giving them the platform to do that. And that was super cool. Hats off to all of those affiliates who did that. Hats off to anyone who had a hand in helping organize that as well. Because I guarantee you
too.
Yeah. And I guarantee you that's going to be something that people remember.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
In the long run, when they look back on 2026, they're remember that time when the weather came, we had to go do it underground Fight Club style. That's the stuff that makes memories.
Yep. Okay. That was a really good point, because that was cool to see the community rally around that. Well, some of you may have seen this new XENOM thing that has been popping up on social media and been wondering, okay, what is this? Well, we were wondering the same thing. So we got their CEO and founder, Keith Barlow, on the show. And Lauren and I spoke with him earlier today about what XENOM is, what it would look like if you went to one of their competitions, what their plans are, and how this whole thing came about. So here is our conversation with XENOM founder and CEO, Keith Barlow. Keith, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Where do we find you on this fine, I guess, Friday afternoon for us?
Friday afternoon. Yeah, I'm in Columbus, Ohio at the moment. So I've just spent the last 24 hours with the incredible guys at Rogue in their playground of fitness. We were walking through the warehouse earlier, and I was like, this is insane. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in there. That building
it's massive.
It's crazy. Yeah. And it's growing.
Yeah. No,
They're
it's
like, yeah.
I think it's the biggest building in Columbus as far as footprint goes.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
It's
no. Yeah, it's super cool. But I've been here for a week now. So I'm normally based in London. But I came over for Wodapalooza. Was there for the whole event. Saw a lot of rain. Then got stuck in Miami Airport, 16 hours in Miami Airport trying to get out to New York. Some super cool brand meetings in New York, then to here, and then kind of full on here for the last few days, and then going home tonight, going to see the kids, going to see my wife, which I'm looking forward to.
Well, XENOM is a name that I think a lot of people in the space have either heard, read, seen on social media, but I'm not sure everybody knows what it is. So in your best elevator pitch possible, what is XENOM?
Okay, cool. So XENOM is a 2-day competition consisting of 10 events. So it is the decathlon of fitness. Across those 10 events, you do 5 events on day 1, 5 events on day 2. And across those 10 events, it is a standardized global format that maps work capacity across time and modal domains to give you a score that represents your total fitness. We call that the Elite Performance Index. You can take part in this in a variety of different ways. So you can take part in 3 divisions. So in a compete division, which is kind of a scaled, so like handstand push-ups to an ab mat, that sort of a thing. In an RX category, which is you're doing the open RX. And then we have an elite category as well, which is heavier weights, like most complex movements, like biggest challenge. You can also then take part in a pairs division. So in a pairs division, then you split all the work. So from most accessible is kind of compete pairs, where you're splitting all the work. It's the simplest movements. It's the best. If you've been training in a CrossFit gym for 6 weeks, like, come down and compete and have a great weekend, all the way through to elite. And in elite, you're doing the same workouts, but you're doing heavy cleans, you're doing harder movements. And so very much from the perspective of we want to create this standardized, globally understood format for a CrossFit athlete to come test themselves, compare themselves across the world on a global ranking to understand where their fitness is at.
Okay.
You and your wife, Kate, with Fittest PR, the marketing agency, y'all have been working with High Rocks for, I think you said, the last 5 or so years. So you've seen something different, but repeatable, right?
Yeah.
What were you able to learn from that and then take all of the knowledge that you've had being in the CrossFit space for the last decade or so to really start developing this and make it something that gets people excited? Because, the counter argument could be, there's already so many things in the calendar. You have the CrossFit Games season, you have WFP, you have the Wodapaloozas, the Rogue. Why is this something that you see necessary in the space and really could get people excited for a new fitness sport?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so when we were looking at the space, and obviously I had the experience, we are still, so the agency that we own is still the agency for High Rocks. We built fitness racing into this unique category of sporting event. But when I was looking then at the space of CrossFit, and I was thinking, like, how can I build something that's helpful to the space here? I think if you talk about the CrossFit Games, you talk about Wodapalooza, you talk about Rogue Invitational, all incredible competitions designed for the best in the world. What we don't have at the moment is we don't have this CrossFit Games level experience for a person in a box who can choose to come and compete at one of 11 events across this season, many more in the future, and come and have the experience of the sport at the highest level, which is incredible. Like, come to the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, come under the lights in one of the best stadiums in the world, bring your wife, bring your kids, bring your buddy from work, and be like, come and see. I spend my life building this incredible type of fitness, this broad work capacity across time and modal domains that exists nowhere else in the world, and is truly exceptional. Like, if you're a CrossFitter, even if you're in the beginning of your CrossFit career, like, you are one of the best in the world, like, just by default of being stood in a CrossFit box. Like, you can't understand how crazy that is. And to be able to then give to the not necessarily 20 best in the world male and female athletes, but to give to 2,000 people the opportunity to come and do that, that's something that hasn't existed before. And what we can see is, like, people really value events. Like, we've been live for 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks now, and the response and the excitement has just been great. I think it's really obvious that there is a huge global population of CrossFitters. I think that there are 4 million people still in the world doing this thing, like doing constantly varied functional movements performed at relatively high intensity. Those 4 million people at the moment don't have a competition that was designed for them. The existing competitions at a global scale are these, like, single modality power output denominated events that do not capture gymnastics, that do not capture weightlifting, that do not capture metabolic conditioning in the sense that we have it. So yeah, that's the elevator pitch. Is this thing didn't exist before, and to me, it's kind of crazy that we never created a competition for people in the gym outside of the Open. And don't get me wrong, the Open is an incredible competition. I love the Open, but it's not a competition in the sense of the modern day version of these, like, big experiential, super cool events.
And that's a person and having the experience. I did a High Rocks once, and I'm like, dang, I don't really love these movements. I wish that there was something like this for CrossFitters. So then when I saw this, it's like the best of both worlds collide, because you get that in-person community experience, but also doing really hard things that we're doing in and out of our affiliates every day that we go.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, that was very much the purpose of this as well. And it's funny, like, you launch something new, like, everyone always has an opinion on it. And
sure.
I've seen, like, High Roxers be like, this is like, the snatch is going to stop me doing this. I'm like, I didn't make this for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't realize that not everything is being made for you. Like, that's for every CrossFitter in the world. They'd be like, yeah, I'll come in, and even if you do a power snatch, like, but that is such a prohibitive movement for so many people. So the way that you train for this is you train in an affiliate.
So this sounds like, to me, if I'm hearing this correctly, your first event is next year in Dallas, Texas. No. Not early, sorry.
This year.
It's
June.
This year.
Yeah.
Okay.
June this year. Yeah.
June this year.
Tickets,
okay.
Yeah. So
and that's in Dallas
live now. Yeah.
Okay. I apologize. I read the date wrong. Would you say that, is it accurate then to say that this is a test event to see how this does, and that now you have something like High Rocks that you can move from city to city and people can sign up for and have this experience that they have at a High Rocks event, but now it's for CrossFitters? Is that the intent?
Yes, I wouldn't say this is a test event. Like, okay. This is the event. So we've got Dallas in June, we've got London in August, and we'll have 2 more dates this year. Yeah.
All right.
So
this is the thing. Mm-hmm. Is that going to be the calendar of the season moving forward, or because it's 10 events in one, like, competitive season, right?
Yeah. So the season will be the 26 season, and then there will be a 27 season. We say 11 events in season 1. That's kind of, when we think about the calendar year, like the 12 months will be 11 events. But so we'll release our full season structure, rule book, scoring system, which is the Elite Performance Index, over the next like 2 weeks. Like we'll reveal kind of all of the final information. It's a really interesting. So when you look at the scoring system that we've put in place, it's a system that hasn't existed certainly in CrossFit before. It's existed in the real world because it's been the decathlon scoring system. So essentially, in each of those categories, in compete, RX, elite, and then also within that, you compete in your age category. So we don't have masters, but you compete in the 35 to 39, or the 40 to 45, or the 25 to 30. So we have all of that. You then, within that category, you get allocated points based on if it is a rep denominated or a time denominated event. So then you get, okay, say it's 7 points per rep or 14 points per rep. And these, within that, then you have a nominal 1,000 pointer, and the 1,000 points for an event would be the best possible result. So over the course of the weekend, then you build this score out of 10,000, but you could get more than that. So if a gold medal Olympic weightlifter came in just to do the snatch, they might come in and get 1,200 points, but they then come last in the running event or something. So that system then means that it's you versus the test rather than you versus the field. So you're rewarded directly for your performance in the event, which I think is quite interesting, because if you think about how CrossFit has worked kind of on the placement system, if you're in the third day of a competition and someone's miles ahead in the points, and you say, okay, well, I'm going to work, this workout's a real strength for me, I'm going to beat you in this workout, but I'm only going to gain 1 point because you're still going to come second. In our format, if you outperform someone significantly in the workout, you might get the extra 100 points on them, even if they still came second. So you get a lot more variation in the scores, which I think will be interesting. I'm super interested to see like how the camps and how the competitors really come in and approach this, because this is an entirely different way of formatting the sport.
In order to better understand things, I always like to kind of just play it out from beginning to end. So if you wouldn't mind just indulging me in this, let's say I show up to a XENOM event, I sign up for my division. So then what happens after that? Okay,
so day one, you're going to come in, you're going to be assigned a heat. You're going to come in and do your first event. Your first event's going to be a 1 rep max snatch. So you're going to do the snatch. You get your score. You're going to have a break. You're going to like a 40-minute break going into the second event. The second event then is a really fun, it's a wall walk, rope climb workout.
That sounds
for 8
terrible.
minutes. So it's definitely not for me. I'm really heavy. No one can say that I programmed this for me. Right. So you do 2 walks, 1 rope climb. You do that for 8 minutes. You then have a 3-minute rest, and then you go into the 60-second max cal on the Echo bike, which is super fun / terrible. So then you do that in the same space. So you do your wall walk rope climb in the same space. You wait there for 3 minutes. You do the Echo bike. You then have quite a long gap then going into a barbell conditioning workout, which is a deadlift, front squat, shoulder to overhead thruster workout, 5 minutes with a moderately heavy bar, depending on what division you've come into. Then you have another pretty long break, like 40 minutes to an hour. And then you finish the day with a 3K run into a 2K ski erg. And then you're done for day one. So day one is, like a pretty complete like all-rounder. Done for the day, and so it's very much not fitness racing. You're not going straight into everything. You have a big break. We will create like these incredible athlete recovery lounges where you really like look after the athlete throughout the course of the day. Then in day 2, you'll come in. Event 6 is something cool that we haven't announced yet. We're keeping in the back pocket. We're working with Rogue on something super cool there. that's definitely not been seen before. Then you go into event 7, which is a toes to bar hanging dumbbell movement, muscle up workout at the compete level. That's a much simpler kind of toes to ring, accessible point. And at the elite level, you're coming in and you're finishing that with max ring muscle ups. Come into event 8, which is a condition. So another big gap there. So through most of the events, you have like 40 minutes to an hour between events. And then you generally each day have one bigger 1.5 to 2 hour gap for lunch. So then you go into event 8, you do a conditioning workout, which is on the bike, ski, burpee. You do event 9, which is a clean ladder. And then in event 10, you finish off with kind of a very traditional gymnastics metcon with chest to bar, handstand push-ups, and some dumbbell lunges. That's it.
And something that me, Sean, and Tommy have talked about is how much we used to love, the regional days where workouts stayed the same across because you could compare athletes, you compare times, scores. Yeah. For y'all, these 10 tests are the same forever? For the foreseeable future, could we accurately say that?
Yeah,
what
100%.
And how do you land on like these specific ones? Like, what has the process been like to really hit the nail on the head, to be confident and say, hey, these are the 10 tests that we're going to do that's going to really be a huge part of our identity?
Yeah. I mean, we went really back to some of the very old school. So I went back and read a lot of the old school, like CrossFit journals, looked at the theoretical of an athlete. Like, how does that pyramid look? Where does metabolic conditioning come in? Where does gymnastics come in? Where does weightlifting come in? How are we going to build a competition that really reflects those original principles? And then from a kind of data science perspective, like quite a lot of like crunching numbers and thinking, okay, what reflects really an optimal way of us creating broad, like mapping out on the graph, like broad work capacity across time and modal domains within the constraints of, I want to run 10 of these events this year, which means that there's no marathon row. Like there's no marathon row. And we're not going to do absolutely everything that you would do to go and find and have the perfect test for the fittest on earth, because that's not my job. Like that's the CrossFit Games' job. That's Rogue Invitational. Like those guys need to go and do that. What we want is a test that, in the same way that High Rocks, like you can test the absolute best on earth at that, and they run a 53-minute time. But at the same time, I can go and do it and run it in an hour and 20 minutes and have an amazing test, understand where I'm at, and really understand what that elite performance looks and feels like as well. That becomes super powerful then when the person who's competing has like empathy towards the elite athlete, because like I don't know what flipping a pig feels like. I have no idea. And I can watch it and that's like a super cool event, but I have no like contextual empathy to that to like really get that. So we think it's really powerful then if the elites are doing the same workouts as everyone else, just with slightly harder weights and everything.
Where did the name come from?
Sean.
Yeah, this is like everybody wants to know. I mean, we'll keep some things in the back pocket. I think obviously like X, it's the decathlon of fitness. There are 10 events. But when you're looking at this kind of naming stuff, you have to go through a bunch of different thought processes. Like, can you trademark it? Does it work across different countries and stuff? Like, you don't want to end up in this situation where you pick a name that sounds super cool in English and it turns out it means something completely different in somewhere else in the world. And you want a name that you want a name that you can own as well. Like you want, so context of High Rocks and like experience there. When we first launched High Rocks, people were constantly like, High Rocks, that's such a weird name. Like, why would you have picked High Rocks? But because it had no connotation to anything else, now that's the sport. Like, and it's really easy to understand. So there's real advantage in not going down the route of something that has like an existing meaning. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So one of the things that I think makes High Rocks so appealing is that there's a low barrier of entry, meaning that you do not have to be super highly skilled to go out there and do an event. The most complicated thing you do is really a wall ball, and you can more or less teach people how to do that on the fly. Well, now you're reintroducing. I mean, more. One would think. So you're with XENOM now. You're reintroducing that complexity with barbell movements that you can't teach. So with that in mind, what do you expect realistically as far as like growth? Because now you have a much higher barrier of entry to get people in the door.
Yeah. So we were talking about this before. So High Rocks is the marathon. The marathon is mass participatory, 1.8 million people taking part in it this year, scaling up to much, much higher. Relatively, like in the same way that you could basically grab anyone off the street and it might take them 8 hours to walk a marathon, they could do it. Then if High Rocks is the marathon and it's this mass participation format, XENOM is Ironman. Like we are the challenge. We are the thing that someone who's done a couple of High Rockses maybe is like, okay, I really want to be tested across everything. Then you come to us. And if you think about the Ironman like demographic of person who wants to go and do an Ironman, like those are the people that are in CrossFit boxes. Like they are the people who are seeking out discomfort, short-term discomfort, and in exchange for long-term success. Like they want that challenge and that success. And when you look at, so when High Rocks was being formed and when we were trying to convince people to come and do High Rocks, I cannot tell you the number of conversations I had with people where they were like, no one is ever going to want to run 8 kilometers and do 8 functional movements. Like that's so like, why would anybody want to do that? And we're in exactly that same like stage now of like educating people and creating that. But in High Rocks, we had to create a type of athlete that had never existed before. Like we had to create the format of the sport. There are already 4 million people who love CrossFit. And I think in the CrossFit space, sometimes people have almost forgotten how much people love CrossFit. Like you go into any affiliate, like, and for me, it's, so CrossFit was the most transformational thing in my life. I found CrossFit about a decade ago and I was relatively overweight. Looking back at it, not massively happy. And I found CrossFit and I developed this deep and intimate relationship with my physical capacity. I met my wife in a CrossFit gym. We built our first business there. It was the most incredible thing in my life. And that is a story that is universal. You go to any CrossFit gym in the world and you can be like, hey, has anyone had their life changed by this thing? And everyone in the room put their hands up for it. And people are so passionate about it and they love it so much. For me, that's the most asymmetrical bet in the world to say, if I create a world-class experience for people and I really care about them and I really make something that reflects the work that they're doing in the gym every day, like I don't have to go and create that demand. It's already there. So yeah, our plans for growth, we want to do 10, 11 events in season 1, and we've mapped out what those look like. But we think we can do 50 to 60 events by season 5, 6. Wow. Across the globe. So that would be about 100,000 people participating. If you look at Ironman is 100,000 people participating in it a year. But those tickets go like that. Right. Like they're so in demand because people want the challenge. And I think when we do this first event, so tickets are live for that now, moving really well. Like there is a huge demand for competition. And I think once we've done that first event and people see what this thing looks and feels like no one's ever seen CrossFit on a scale like this before, suddenly there will also be this level of, oh, okay, I understand it now. Because you will have all of these thousands of athletes coming away with a CrossFit Games level experience, with CrossFit Games level photos, with CrossFit Games level videos that will completely kind of reformat how people think about like what a competition can be for the everyday person.
Well, and I know something that we keep talking about too is that partnership with CrossFit, the partnership with Rogue. It might seem obvious, but why, in your own words, was that the best move forward to partner with these two big brands that are already established?
Well, I think it kind of speaks for itself. Rogue, I don't know anyone who doesn't want to partner with Rogue. They're just incredible. I mean, Bill and Katie have built such an incredible business, and they are, honestly, it's an education every time I go and sit in a room with them. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that before. Like I've learned from you guys, and for CrossFit as well. Like CrossFit's the brand, isn't it? And it's the thing that everybody cares about. And when we were thinking about when I was thinking about how to come into the space, I was really conscious that I wanted to come in, as a good neighbor to everyone. We obviously came in with quite a lot of firepower behind us. We raised a decent sum of money. We have big ambitions, but I didn't want to come in and be like, okay, come in an adversarial way. I genuinely thought, okay, the rising tide lifts all ships. If we can get more people really engaged into the culture of competition in the CrossFit space, that is good for everyone in the space. It's good for Rogue. It's good for CrossFit. It's good for Wodapalooza. It's good for the local affiliate. It's good for the brands, because we have people excited about the concept of what we do. And so for me, it was, okay, the white space in this ecosystem where no one is building anything is in this like big experiential events for the everyday person in the box. And yeah, that was then, okay, let's go and do this. Let's go and speak to the brands that we think really add value to this, and make it I want the affiliates to be excited about it. I think I spoke a lot with affiliate owners in the build up to this, and I carried on hearing these two same pieces of feedback. Like, one was, the best thing that's happened to my business in the last 5 years is High Rocks. I got 50 new members. That's amazing. The biggest problem for me is also High Rocks, because I have all of my members now, and their personal fame, their personal status, how they recognize the value of their fitness within like this broader cultural context is how they're performing at these events. And so my members are now coming to me and saying, hey, I want to do more I want to do more running, I want to push more sleds, I want to get better at this stuff. They're not coming and saying, I want to get my muscle up. I want to pursue kind of the purest version of CrossFit. So if we can then create this competition format that then is designed for the CrossFitter, and that there is then really this like validation and reason for the methodology for the person to be pursuing that heavier clean, to be pursuing the complex gymnastics, like that is a good thing for everyone.
Are you planning on, I know High Rocks does a lot of broadcasts around or streaming around their top divisions. Are you planning on doing the same thing, and what would that look like?
So we're evaluating everything at the moment. Our investors come from like an entertainment background. Jeffrey, who is one of the managing partners of WonderCo, who invested, was the founder of DreamWorks Animations and then the CEO at Disney. So we're looking at all of the options on that front. Content is obviously king, and the storytelling around these things is super important. That said, like we don't want to come into the space and be and do everything that has already existed. Like there are different ways of doing things, and we're looking at all of those at the moment. But yeah, content will be a very, very big part of what we do moving forward. Yeah.
Is there a name or a title for the folks that win these competitions? Because, you know, the CrossFit Games is the fittest on earth. Rogue doesn't have like a specific title, but, you know, they're going to showcase some cool new pieces of equipment and test a lot of strength. Like, what is your claim to fame for this?
Okay, well, so obviously it's the decathlon of fitness. And so within the season structure, and I think this is where it gets really fun, is you can come in, I compete in male RX. I'm 34, so I'm in the 30 to 34 category. I can win the individual event I'm at within my competition and within my age group. So I could be the XENOM Dallas 34 to 39 male RX winner. But then that also sits across the season. So I can also be the season champion across that. And I'll get told off by our team if I reveal too much here about like what the final denominations are. But yeah, so you can win on the day. You can win on the day, like overall male RX compete. You can win on the day male RX age group, and then you can win across the season as well. Which gives like a lot of opportunity for recognition. And I think that's where it gets really exciting for like in the age group level. Obviously Masters is the traditional format within CrossFit, but it's not in most sports. Like most sports like triathlon or any of the other big globals, like you just compete against your age groups, and then you have this, you can make that comparison. Okay, I competed in Dallas and Jim competed in London and we're the same age. And here's our score comparison, and I can really understand where I sit within this global system rather than just like what I'm doing on the day.
What has signups been like so far?
Yeah, really strong. I think whenever you come into the space, it's obviously a pretty expensive ticket. It's a completely new product. Like no one has ever kind of seen it before. We've not run one of the events. So I think you always come in and expect there to be some resistance and like an education process, but tracking really nicely, like ahead of where we thought we would be at this point. We're kicking off kind of next week, like community marketing in Dallas and in the surrounding Texas area as well. So we'll be coming into gyms and everything. But yeah, no, super positive, which is really nice. Like, I think you obviously have a thesis or like a hypothesis in your head of like, people might want this competition, and you don't know until you launch it and press go. Like, is anyone going to buy a ticket? And yeah, people are. They're into it. Yeah, I'm super excited.
Well, I'll be honest. Like now that I know more about it, I'm like, I might try to give this a whirl. You know, let's see. It sounds kind of fun because it is that experience, you know, that you get.
Yeah.
And feeling like a competitor in multiple days and being in a multiple events and being in a first class facility surrounded by all these resources. It does sound like, yeah, that could be kind of fun for a weekend.
Yeah,
well, I'm in. Like, you sold me.
Okay, amazing. Right, let's get you that. I think it's also, so I've spoken to lots of people who maybe they competed before, maybe they used to love competing. They don't necessarily want to like peak themselves up into CrossFit Games level territory, but maybe they want to come and compete in a pair with their buddy and have a fun weekend and like throw down and do all the shit that's really fun and that people love doing. Bring the community together in a, like, I personally know that when I was younger and more competitive, if I had the opportunity to like, go to Dallas for a weekend, go and compete in the Cowboys Stadium, have this fun weekend away, compete with the butt. That's cool. That's fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the affiliate parking lot. Texas Stadium. Yeah.
And that's that was a big part of it. Like if you look at how most people have experienced competition in CrossFit, that is it. It's like the affiliate parking lot or something. And those are incredible competitions. I've done a bunch of them.
They're a blast.
But there is a difference between that and now the industry has changed. Like people have seen what these things can be and how big picture, how grand scale they can be. And so that's huge for us now. Is I think you kind of, the people that are in the gyms, the people that are in the affiliates, the way that they train, the intensity that they put in, the virtuosity that they display, that is like, you have to match that. You have to match that with how important you take the competition. Like you have to make that feel like something that matches the intensity with which the average person is coming into the gym at 6 a.m. in an affiliate and like crushing 7 minutes of burpees and competing against the guy next to them. You have to then match that with the quality of the competition that you want to put on.
Obviously, this is going to be enticing for CrossFitters, people inside affiliates. But if you were to look into your crystal ball and see maybe like what other sports athletes that interests, where would you throw your hat to that?
Yeah, so I think this is a really good one. And I don't want to we are not CrossFit. Like we are XENOM, we are our own brand. And I think that if the CrossFit circle is like this big right now, the intention that we have to have, and I think that everyone in the community has to have, is we want that circle to be bigger, and we want to be attracting people in who aren't already in the ecosystem. And there has to be these multiple touch points for people to find a way in. And this is one of those where it will be big, public, look very cool, be very social media friendly, that in the same way that lots of people, when they first came into the CrossFit space, they watched the Netflix documentary or something and they were like, hey, that was sick. Mm-hmm. I wish I could do that. How do I get to do that? Like, we have to do the same thing. And that's very much like in the format, in the structure, in where it is, in the look and feel. The intention here is you go and find those other people as well, who you'll have some high roxers who want to come and do it, but you'll also have some college athletes who maybe have finished their NFL, like, or their football season or their wrestling or whatever, but they still want to compete and they want to know what they're competing for and be able to train and build up to. So very much our opinion is, okay, this thing has to be really attractive to everyone that's already in the space, but it's also got to help grow the space, and it's also got to be attractive to those other athletes. And yeah, I think that there's a huge community. There are so many people, especially in the US, where they compete to this super high level in college, and then that's it. Like, it's done then, and they don't have that competitive outlet. That's a huge community that we're certainly looking at, and that Hyrox has tapped into, but that doesn't necessarily service those people and like the breadth of their athletic capabilities.
All right. Well, Keith, thank you so much for taking the time to explain XENOM to us. And, you know, like I said, I had a general idea about it coming in. I have a much better idea about it. I'm excited. I hope there's an event around me one day, because I love the idea of being able to go to a first-class facility, be treated like a professional athlete, go through an event that I know I can train for, and see where I stand. And I think, like, we've always wondered who can take high rocks and then apply it to CrossFit. And I think that you guys have, I think you're on your way. So I would love to talk to you after that first event to sort of get a
amazing. Where are you based?
I'm in the Bay Area, so I'm in San Jose.
Oh, okay, okay. California is definitely on the California is definitely on the cards. We've got a lot of venues that we're looking at, across the board. But
great,
very cool.
All right, well, thanks so much for your time, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Big thanks to Keith Barlow for taking the time to do that. And as I mentioned, I'm excited about this. I think it'll be fun. And if there is one that is within distance of me, I might try to grab some of my dad friends and go throw down for a couple of days. It sounds like a good time. You know, it's just like you get to do your own competition against yourself, see what happens, sign up for your division, and then have at it. But I hope this works, because I hope that it will expose more people to the methodology and get them into affiliates.
Yeah, there's so many legs with this that I'm really excited to see. And even with their scoring system, how it is very much like individual based, and they're going to put it all on their website, they said, at a later time, but it's exciting.
I mean, they kind of had my interest peaked when they mentioned the decathlon of fitness on the website when they first announced. Coming from a track and field background, I was that always intrigued me. Like the decathlon, there's so many avenues to pursue and try and improve, and so many different ways to, for lack of a better term, to skin that cat. And we've always talked about, just in CrossFit programming and fitness pursuit in general, all the different ways you can see how your body responds. If you tug on this lever, if you turn that knob, you pull that lever, what does that do, and how does that find those improvement areas for you? Well, if we're going to have a consistent test that you can quantify those specific things and maybe tinker a little bit, and you can, get it done in a predictable manner with your friends on the weekend, like you mentioned, like the High Rocks model for CrossFit, it seems like it could be a really cool event, especially if you have the high production, performer value. When you step on site, you feel like you're doing something, of magnitude. It's cool.
Yeah. I mean, everyone I've ever I haven't done a High Rocks event, but everyone I've talked to who has mentioned what a great experience it is. Not just the event itself, but just what the experience is on site and what the vibe is. And I'm definitely intrigued by this now. I didn't know a whole lot about it. Of course, I've seen the social media posts, but I really appreciated Keith enlightening us on that one. We got some public support, community support we want to get to here. And I know this is one that has been out there, but we obviously want to get it out there as well. And this is support Lisa Wells, Frankie's fight against brain cancer. Let me try to get Tommy not covered up here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's okay.
There we go. Okay. So there it is in the upper left-hand part of your screen. And you can go to, it's GoFundMe.com, and you should be able to find it. But they're trying to raise $50,000 to help her with her fight against brain cancer. They're close. $46,557 have been raised. Obviously, the Wells sisters have been a gigantic part of the CrossFit community. Our heart goes out to them. I hope they are doing well. This is a horrible thing to have to go through. So if anybody out there is able to help, check out GoFundMe and look for support Lisa Well Frankie's fight against brain cancer, and just donate what you can. Anything is going to help. So happy.
The link is also in Brooke Wells' Instagram bio too, if people are struggling to find it.
Fantastic. Yeah. So just want to wish them the best of luck. So
100%. It's tough. I had a good friend went through this exact process.
I remember that.
Options. There's treatment options, and it's support, tons of love sending their way, and hopefully that this is something that presents itself this one time, and they're on the path to recovery, and hopefully this is something that we can celebrate her success working through in the future for sure.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed. Yeah, absolutely. So just we're thinking about y'all, Wells family. So hope it'll help all as well as it possibly can be. Okay, PRs and no reps. Got any no reps?
I'm gonna no rep banked in half court threes.
Yeah,
I'm still in shock.
Yeah, that's not. I'm sorry.
Otega Owe from Kentucky just broke my heart.
When that happens, you're just like, "Yep, just ain't our day."
We waited 30 years
I know.
for this moment to be in the tournament, and just hearts broken.
One shining moment.
Yeah, that's my. Oh my gosh, yeah. That's gonna be on that.
It absolutely will be.
It's the shot of the tournament right now. We're on the receiving end.
That sucks. No, Lauren, you got a no rep?
Yeah.
My no rep is the lack of things that are waterproof in life.
Yeah, no question. My God, I was drenched.
That's all I got to say to that.
There you go. All right.
And get insurance on your camera equipment if you haven't yet.
Yeah.
It's a good learning lesson.
I hate to do this, but I am going to no rep I'm going to simultaneously PR and no rep the same thing. I'm going to no rep the housekeeping staff at the Staybridge Suites at the Miami airport. I left a toiletry bag in my hotel. All right. It had some, nice toothbrush, some things like I take with me on the road. Wanted it back. Okay. So I called them.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I know I left it there. I can pay to have it shipped. Do you guys have it? Like, I know right where it was. And they couldn't find it. And I called some manager who clearly was checked out in the morning, didn't want to help me. And she's like, yeah, they had it, but then it disappeared. They had it on their cart, but then yeah, she told me that. And then they put it into the store. Then they were supposed to put it into storage, and then it disappeared. I was like, it what? She said, do you want me to put you through to management? I was like, yes, please. On hold for 25 minutes. No one picked up. I hung up. Long story short, called back again later in the day, got the manager, happened to pick up the new GM. And I explained the situation to him. He could not have been nicer. So this is where my PR is. He was like, I'm new here. I don't know our procedures, but let me figure this out for you. This isn't right. Got a call back in about 10 minutes from another woman who said, yeah, we have your item right here, Mr. Woodland. How would you like us to get it back to you? We can't pay to have it shipped. I go, no problem. My mistake. I'll give you a label. Great. We're happy to do that. And they took care of it. So that just goes to show you, don't take no for an answer when that stuff happens, because get to someone who actually knows what's going on. So I want to PR the management that really helped me out, But the underlings who did not give a you know what, no rep.
Do you think it was laziness, or do you think that they were stealing your stuff?
I think it was laziness. I will find out if they stole my stuff when I get it back.
I would sniff your toothbrush before using it.
Yeah, no, I already got a new one. That one's done. But there's other stuff in there that I'm not. There's other stuff in there that I could not. I wanted back. So I'll just put it that way.
I need my various balms and salves.
Yeah, I'm a Dapper Dan man.
I'm a Dapper Dan man.
All right, who else got PR?
You know what? I'm gonna PR positivity through the Miami chaos. The amount of people that actually like still had smiles on, still were staying positive. We're just like, if we don't laugh, we're gonna cry. And honestly, like, I'm so grateful that I was around people like that, because it made the morale much better than it could have been.
Yeah, for sure. Tommy?
Man, I'm gonna PR ILO plastering. So the people that did our stucco, the crew that they had out there that did the stucco for our house, just all around awesome guys. It was hot out. It was hot the last few days. They brought out all this awesome fruit, watermelons. We just sat around and chopped it up during our breaks, and just good vibes all around from those guys. And they did a great job. The house looks great. Super stoked on it, and I felt like it was just one of those things where you're just like sitting around after a job well done, people enjoying people. So good stuff.
Awesome. All right. Well, that is going to do it for today. Again, thank you to Keith Barlow, the CEO and founder of XENOM, for stopping by and enlightening us as to what his organization is going to be doing. A lot of fun stuff to look forward to. We are on to the quarterfinals next. And then before you know it, live competition will be back with semifinals. And then before you even know it, again, CrossFit Games will be here. So a lot to talk about here in the coming weeks. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. For Tommy Marquez and Lauren Khalil, I'm Sean Woodland. Take care of each other. Be better. And we will talk to you guys next time.
1, 2, 3, go! Like a kiss at the start of a first date. If it's good, I don't want to wait. When the feeling's right, I'm taking